Let's talk a little bit about Unchurched Harry and Mary. These folks kind of burst on the scene about 20, 30 years ago, and they were a very, very useful metaphor for those people who needed Jesus just outside of our circles just a little bit. And as they did, it was very, practical. We could kind of visualize those people who needed Jesus that we needed to target and go out and reach with the gospel. But the problem kind of came on two different fronts. The law of unintended consequences intervened here, and pretty soon, because we started talking about the word unchurched, we equated the idea of being churched with the idea of evangelism. And so instead of actually talking to people about Jesus, we invited them to church, which then caused a very vicious cycle in terms of churches competing with each other to reach unchurched Harry and Mary. And well, it kind of went nuclear, and you know what I'm talking about. But then the other problem with Harry and Mary is that they looked a lot like our cousins. In other words, they looked a lot like us. If you're white, they looked white. If you're black, they were black. If you're Hispanic, they were Hispanic. If they're Asian, well, you get what I'm talking about. And so the problem is that in Los Angeles City School District, they speak like 225 or 227 different languages at home, although they speak English when they come together. What about all those language groups? Those are the ethne that Jesus was talking about when he said, go and make disciples of all ethne. And then on top of that, there are what I'd call affinity groups, people who love each other, like to hang out with each other, whether they're bikers, they're surfers, they're former heroin addicts, whatever they are. They're attorneys of all things. They're people of like mind, and they have actually constituted different ethnic, particularly when you start to look at the lifestyle hobby groups in America that we're not reaching with the gospel. 70% of America 10 years ago was saying, we don't care about what you guys have to say. Now they're kind of antagonistic toward what we have to say. And so we need to really begin to rethink how we go about what we call evangelism. And I actually think if you're listening to me and you're the lead pastor, this starts with you. I know of two or three different major important congregations that got big really quickly but weren't reaching teenagers. And in these particular situations, the pastor decided, I'm going to go do something about it. And usually it was either a Sunday night or a Friday night, and it had to do with popcorn, root beer floats, Cokes, and DVDs. Come over to my house, we'll hang out, we'll do this thing. Old guy, young kids. But they responded to an offer, and really what they responded to was an offer of love. And pretty soon, the guy was reaching not only the kids in his circle, but their friends, and then their friends of friends and friends. And pretty soon then they hired a youth pastor, whatever, and the story goes on from there. Take that same model and apply it to those people that you see as the fringe people in your congregation. The people who don't look like you, don't think like you, maybe politically opposite of you, and invite them over to your house for dinner. Invite them over to the church office to hang out if you have an office and it's not COVID. Do something to get together with these people and begin to make disciples of people who could possibly make disciples of others. And then we'll get into the thoughts of things like microchurch, home groups, whatever it is. But we'll have a pathway, a friendship pathway, a love pathway, if you would, into the lives of people who need the gospel desperately, and we're not touching them at all because we're still focused on old Harry and Mary who look an awful lot like us. And so really what I'm asking you to do is what Jesus asked us to do, and that's to make disciples of all ethne. It starts out with recognizing the ethne who are among us, who are pathway to others who look a little bit more like them and look like you and me. Thanks for taking time to listen to this.